been a while. It has been several months since a legitimate upload. And that is for a very concrete reason. The second video that was slated to upload onto this channel was a video of me playing The Last of Us Part 2 and talking about my journey as an actor. Now, the raw footage is over 5.5 hours, and I have about 3 and some change hours of it edited. Which is why I don't want to get rid of it, because that much effort has already gone in. But I think that I will get rid of it, because aside from that, even when edited down, it's boring, and it's just me trying to like comfort myself for not getting gigs right now. And there are, you can find on the corners of the internet so many videos and blogs and vlogs and whatever of a defensive actor talking about the shows that they've done so that they don't have to think about that they're not doing shows right now. And I'm not gonna feed my own insecurities of that by continuing to edit it. You might be able to hear my dog making mouth sounds. But yeah, it's just not good content, and I'm in a better place now about that. One, because I've gotten more gigs since then, and two, because I was just like in a new place in my life and like kind of depressed, not really depressed, but like kind of depressed about it. I was sort of letting myself go with my body and all that, and I've sort of picked myself back up with health and things. So I'm gonna scrap that video, and I'm just gonna continue on, not without the idea that that needs to be the second video, the second real video. So instead, I'm going to go to the third. Video. I did record the third video right after I recorded the second one, because I got in this big old thing of recording videos instead of actually making one, editing it, uploading it, because this is a joke. But the third video that I recorded was Gundam and Gunpla. I'm getting a scam text right now that is saying that $429.87 is being processed for a product that I bought. I'm sure they want me to be like, no, and then fucking shut up. Yeah, I'm sure they want me to freak out and answer that, but I'm not going to. So Gunpla is what I first got started with. And Gunpla is the building of plastic model kits based off of certain mechs, mobile suits, mobile armors, etc. from Mobile Suit Gundam. Gundam are the robots and the shows and whatnot, and Gunpla are the model kits. I usually just say Gundam kits, because Gunpla is like this weird Japanese mix of words, because they like to do that with words. So I first got started with Gunpla, as many people do. There are many people that just like the designs and build them without having watched any Gundam. And that's cool. I did eventually start watching Gundam, and it is an endeavor, but I'm finding enough enjoyment to keep going, at least. I will cut out the loud sound that this just made. The first two kits that I built are actually not in my possession. Basically, from here, I spend several minutes telling the story of how I got into Gunpla, but it's very closely tied to the story of the recent relationship with my father, because that's how it started. My father liked building model kits, but he liked building the kind of model kits that require a lot of sculpting and painting, and because he is a visual artist, it became less of a hobby for him and more of a sort of bitter expression of his ego that it became less healthy for him to do, and our relationship was on the ropes a little bit, and I decided that I wanted to take initiative and help rekindle some stuff. So I decided ego-free, no painting, no sculpting, full snap assembly, color-separated thing. The Gunpla kits very successfully achieved that. It ended up not repairing the relationship between us, but I went on to enjoy the hobby nevertheless, so there's always that. So the whole setup that I had for the first two kits that I built, I was using these nippers. They are very cheap. It was maybe $8 for a set of 5. I have 3 of them now because I gave a pair to my now ex-girlfriend, and I gave a pair to my friend at college, in which I will get to those stories soon. But very, very cheap, but they work. They do sound kind of loud, I suppose. So I've grabbed a random runner from the Real Grade Zeta Gundam, which that's a story. So let's say I'm taking this to it. I really am worried about actually causing a stress mark here, but you can hear a loud snap. This actually was a rather clean cut, but you could hear a loud snap because these are not fully designed for that kind of thing. This is the cream of the crop. Anyone who builds Gunpla knows that the gold standard for nippers is the God Hand. They are very well machined. It perfectly closes into itself, and it's a single blade. There's a flat edge right here, and then one very sharp blade. It does make these very fragile, so you need to be very careful and mindful when using it. But, let's see, which one did I cut? Here. Almost silent. Here, this one has 4, so I will try to do another cut near the mic. Lovely. It cuts like butter. Thing is, this was $8 for a pack of 5. This is $70. But then, the only other setup I had were these sheets of sandpaper, which was like $5 for these like 100 sheets or something. And the grit of this sandpaper, it varies. It's like 1,000, 1,200, 1,500. So it's pretty fine sandpaper, which meant very slow process of sanding back when I started to really care. it does the job. The first several kits that I built was just this. It was, for some of the kits, I didn't even really use the sandpaper at all. I would just cut them out. But then, obviously, that changed. Now I have this whole box full of tools that I use. I suppose I'll get into that when I get into that. So I'm going to shut up and get into the Gunpla that I actually have. Just a fair warning, these are going to be in pieces because they were all thrown into a box. So when looking up what Gundam kits are good, the first thing that you will hear is that high grades are a good place to start. There are several grades of Gunpla. There is the most amount that you will find are high grades, which are a decent standard, probably a couple hundred pieces, a fair level of complexity to the mechanics of it, and definitely a project. But you can still get a high grade and make it look really good with a couple extra steps. So you hear that high grades are good, and then you hear that the Iron-Blooded Orphans kits are good. I have not watched Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. It's a spin-off series. It's sort of in its own kind of alternate universe thing. Sort of a grittier look at the Mobile Suit Gundam series. So I will want to check it out. But I had never seen it, and so I got these two kits right here. They're like Barbados something. I still don't know anything about it because I'm trying not to be spoiled before I watch it. But, you know, I mean, even for just like a simple little build, it still looks pretty complex. It's got these like little piping segments by the legs. Let's see if I can do the makeup thing to get a focus there. No, yes, no. A lot of like great articulation. It's strong enough to play with, kind of. These are good ones if you want to like get a cheap kit for a kid or something that's gonna be messing around with it a lot. That said, every kit is going to have fragile parts. There are parts that clip onto the back, I think, that are lost. There are parts that are missing on the head. But otherwise, and I mean, this is from heavily abusing it and just like throwing it into a box. It will not be this like wobbly and fragile on its own. It's a very well-made kit. And then this one, I don't know the difference, haven't seen the show, but they were both good builds. I banged both of them out in like a weekend, I think. I just like sat on my bed and built these up and just, you know, enjoyed it. And same thing, just kind of snipped it out. Didn't really do too much sanding, and that was it. So that's why you can see just a lot of blank. But eventually I started pan aligning, and I know that I did a demonstration, so I'm going to use that clip, I think. So, you see this arm? You start getting closer up to it, and you see that there's some details in there that you didn't see before. So, all you do is touch it. This kind, you kind of can also go, just sort of draw along the line And now it's much more sort of highlighted. But it looks a little messy. So I take a microfiber cloth and I sort of rub that shit out. Let's do like a semi-decent job. You can see now that that really just pops a little more. And on the other side, it's still rather invisible. I have put some, sorry for my fingernails, put some black into that one like I showed, some brown into this one, and some gray into that one. And it just really makes the little details pop a little more from a distance. Whereas on this side, you can see kind of a little bit of these ones, but other than that, it doesn't show up nearly as well. Here's the one that I panel lined. But I mean, this has a lot of like little hip thruster parts that are cool. Has like these little arms for the backpack unit thing. It's cool. That was good. Next, from the ones that I have here, I was in college and I was telling my roommate about building them and whatnot, and so I don't remember if I bought him a kit or if he bought me a kit. We just got them, and because we thought they looked cool, we didn't know anything about them. And then built them up, and it's this one. This has a weird, like, sideways ball joint that you have to slide in and then push horizontally to get connected. This is a much thicker kit, obviously, with a giant ass bazooka on its back. It also somewhere had a weapon that was like a big hammer, but it opened up like a pair of scissors. Now that I have watched some Gundam, I know that this is at least based on the mobile suits from the Principality of Zeon, because it has the one red eye in the middle there. Come on, man. And it has the kind of like flared out legs that you see in like the Goof or whatever. The torso just fell off again. And I mean, again, you see like just some of the color correcting stickers, but otherwise it's just, something fell off. I don't know what it was. No other real like accentuated details. And I mean, you see that they sculpt them with like all these ridges and details. And I mean, you can tell this is high grade, like there's minimal pieces involved, just some simple joints. The feet don't really bend anywhere else other than the ankle, and that's only a little bit, but that's fine. I remember at school I had this in a dynamic pose trying to attack the one that my roommate made. But yeah, we just built these alongside each other. You can still, oh my god. You can still see like the nub marks because I didn't really clean it up or sand it that well. Then my girlfriend at the time wanted to build one with me, or I wanted to build one. I'm sure it was more that I proposed to build one with her, and she was into the idea. So I got 2 of this kit. I just finished Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. I finished watching the series, and there was one character who had a mobile suit that was similar to this design. So I'm guessing that maybe around the time of Double Zeta or Char's counterattack, we're gonna see the mobile suit with this design. But again, very Principality of Xeon, very flared, very thick. This one has a big old lance. And then they start having these really like xenomorph, like flared heads and stuff. But yeah, once again, just another kit that I built with the same kind of process. I'm gonna put this back in the Zeta box before I forget about it. It was then at this point, after spring break, or during spring break of that year, it was my senior year of college. I was in the middle of putting up my senior project, which was very taxing. And I had contracted COVID, the Omicron variant, so it was very intense, but not life-threatening, and it went away in about a week. But I was very sick and bedridden, and I decided, fuck it, let's watch Neon Genesis Evangelion. And I fell in love with it. I love the series to death now. I have watched 2 out of 4 of the Rebuild movies. Because I've been waiting to watch those with my friend. And then, of course, End of Evangelion, which broke everybody's brains and hearts and souls. But this was after watching the series, Eva Unit 1. I'm not going to take this out of its pose because I really like the pose I put it in. It's definitely a different mech design. And at first I didn't really like it, but as the show went on, I really appreciated it, and I especially appreciated it once you understand why it is what it is. So, it's definitely more sleek, it's definitely a lot thinner, it's tall. I don't want to stand it up, but it definitely towers over a normal high grade. I should, I suppose, explain that high grade is to scale with the actual canon size of the mobile suit it's based on. It is 1/144th scale. So it's 1/144th the size of the actual mobile suit. This, I don't know if there's a scale. I started keeping all the instruction books and extra parts in their own bags per kit. I'm not seeing a scale here. So I have it in this very sort of dynamic crouched pose, holding its, I used to remember what they actually called the rifle, but I don't anymore. That makes me sad. I do know that this is called the prog knife, for like progressive knife. And they are stored in the shoulder panels, and they actually are stored in the shoulder panels. So I wanted to show that by having him pull one out. And then holding the rifle down here in this very like human, more biological pose. Very detailed. Something that I appreciate that they included is that in Gundam, a lot of mobile suits, the pilot is stored in the chest, and there's just like a compartment that opens in the chest of the mobile suit. But in Evangelion, they have an injection pod that they have. In Eva plug, it's a plug, and it plugs into the nape of the neck. And I think that's what inspired Attack on Titan, being in the nape of the neck. Unless Evangelion being in the nape was inspired off of something else. I'm not sure, but they included it. They also include a red orb in the center that you can't even see because it's accurate to how it's built in the show, and I really appreciate that. So I think you tilt the head down, and then let's see if we can make it visible. You pull this back, and then you nail under there. And then you can see the plug in there. Just falls out. And there it is. I could panel line it or paint it at this point. It does come with a sticker to make it look accurate, but then it doesn't fit into the hole here. And I like the function over the form. Or function over fashion, I guess. Then you slide that back in. Close the pod up. Slide that back in. And the head can come back up. And this is my first real grade. Real grade is the same size around as a high grade. It's the same scale as a high grade, while being much more detailed with a lot of smaller parts, more detailed panels, and sort of reimagining the design of the mobile suit to be more quote-unquote realistic, having a lot more like rivets and panels and sheets and things to give it a more industrial look rather than, because I mean, like, let's say the RX-78-2, the original Gundam, it was a 70s cartoon, so it was just very block, past, like very strong colors, very minimal detail. But the real grade that I made is super detailed. I'll show you that soon, because that was my next kit. I did the same thing. You see, it's still not panel lined or anything. Looking at it, there aren't that many actual places to panel line. A lot of the separation are actually because of separate pieces of plastic, and so the separation becomes much more clear that way. It looks sort of like sheets of muscle in a way. But yeah, this kit is definitely worth picking up. They're kind of expensive right now though, so maybe not, but if you can find it for a lower price, definitely try to get under $100. Yeah, it starts to get pricey, but I kind of think this is worth it. It's a great kit. But I just sanded this again, but this time I sanded every nub on every piece as best I could at the time. And there's still some like little traces of nub marks and things, but mostly it's definitely a step up. And then I realized that just how much more gratifying it is to put that little bit more effort into it. So, AB Unit 1. I am so afraid to even be picking this thing up. This is so far, by far, the most fragile kit that I own. And this is the real grade RX-78-2. You can see, or maybe you can't see because this thing just doesn't want to focus. So, I mean, you can see, like right here, a lot more color separation, and now I've started panel lining and top coating. I made sure to sand every piece, way down so you actually can't see the nubs anymore. And then I panel lined, which is using the Gundam markers. Right now for Gundam markers, I have well, at this point, for Gundam markers, I just had this fine tip black one, fine tip gray, and fine tip brown. Which, I mean, when I say fine tip, they are fine tipped. Black to be used on darker parts, such as blues and reds. Gray to be used on lighter colors, like grays and whites. And yellow, the brown to be used on yellows and more lighter colors like that. That might be lead. So, this guy, I maybe built him in a few weeks. It might have been about a month. Because the building process, I would just you know, while I was watching TV at night with my mom, I would just do this for an hour or two. And, you know, for being my first ever, like, real effort one, I think it came out pretty well. I will not be moving it, except for, I guess, you can see that this one does have an opening hatch in the chest for where the pilot would go. I'm not sure that it opens much farther than that. I don't want to test it and break it. But a lot more detail. I love the detail. I actually think I did a pretty good job, especially like you see on the back of the head there, very clear panels. I'm proud of that. Oh, I did not do any panel lining on the back of the shield. That's a fucking no-no. I don't know why I did that. Well, it took me this long to notice. I built this in January. It's July now, so latter half of July at that. So, yeah, comes with this beam rifle, shield, a couple of beam sabers, and this bazooka right there. So I just loaded this guy up and I have him standing like he's in the hangar, and I'm never going to move him again because this was the first real grade to be made, and because of that, it is very fragile and it will probably fall apart someday, which will make me sad. A staple of real grades is that it comes with a scale figure of the pilot. This would be Amuro Ray. You can paint these, of course, but I'm not going to because look at how small this fucking thing is. And also, the core, the abdomen of the mobile suit is detachable, and you can, how it works in the show is where the pilot is stored in the mobile suit can detach and turn into what's called the core fighter, which is this little plane. And it can fly around. And this does have, this can fold in on itself, and you could, if you wanted to, replace the core of the Gunpla with this if you wanted. Just folds in like that and it becomes the little torso piece. I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, this really introduced me to the satisfaction of the more effort you put in, the better it looks, all that. I don't have a can of top coat on me, but I am going to get the next kit, so I'll bring it. I'll show you the top coat that I use. Because especially, I mean, you can kind of see with Ava Unit 1 here that the light shines off it, and it does have kind of a more plastic look. Whereas, with this, when it is top coated, the light does not shine off of it as much. and it gives it a much more just matte, nice look, in my opinion. Here is the pilot next to the mobile suit, in case you wanted that. Next up, in this sitting pose, because I had him sitting on my shelf, just to be funny, this is the high grade Gundam Unicorn, because Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn is the next series that I watched. I feel not as obligated to keep this one super nice. Some people, like, if you watch a review of this figure, of this model, like, the articulation isn't that great and whatnot, but it does the job, and I usually just keep them standing anyways, so it's fine. This one was just some more good practice on panel lining. You can see it definitely has a more crisp look to it. That's kind of it. I just built it while I was watching Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. I do really like the unicorn's design. I like how stoic it is. I do like that just the only real color is the little shine of green. But yeah, this time I panel lined the back of the shield. So there you go. I think this looks pretty clean. There's like a little bit of blurriness in some of the panel lines, but mostly I think it looks pretty clean. But this is just a placeholder before I got the real grade unicorn, which is considered by many to be one of the best Gunpla around. I have to agree. So, because of that, sadly, this is not one that I keep on my shelf, that I keep on the dresser that all my, like, display ones are on. But this kind of gets tossed to the side. I do think that the panel lining is cleaner. I do think that the top coat is much better. Although now I am seeing some spots that I missed. Pop it into there. And then you have yourself a beam saber. That's how that works. I don't know where the bazooka went for this. This comes with a bazooka. Extra hands, all top coated and panel lined, even though I'm never gonna put them on. Just a couple of adjustment parts. ASMR. Follow the light. Oh, you can see just how badly bent this is. Here we go. The real grade unicorn with the 1/144th scale pilot. Now this is a beast. It is over like 350 pieces, I think, something like that. Just in this little thing, you can see a bunch of little panel lines, which I love. I'm in love with it. And this whole thing transforms into its unicorn, into its destroy mode kind of thing. This is unicorn mode, where it's all like, oh, I'm just white, like me. And then it reveals all these like a psycho frame in it, and all these red parts come out. I will not be transforming it in this video because people that have built this kit will know there is one piece in the shoulder that has way too much stress put on it when it transforms, and it breaks, and it broke, and I had to super glue it, and I know that if I transform it again, one, if not both, of those will break again. And it makes me sad because this thing looks great in destroy mode. From the real grade RX-78-2 onward, I started, after panel lining, top coating, making everything all nice, I would take pictures of the kits. Just some, nothing super fancy, just to show them off a little bit. So I do have pictures that I took. It comes with this shield that, here, I'll take it off for the sake of presenting. It flares out here and pulls out there. And that's the destroy mode shield right there. I'm proud of this. I put masking tape over these parts so that they still shine, but the white stays matte. I like that effect a lot. I'm proud of that. But yeah, a lot of subtlety to this kit, made a little less subtle by my panel lining of absolutely everything, but I think that makes it pop in a nice way. It comes with this sort of new age beam rifle with a removable clip. I'm not going to remove it. 2 beam sabers. Comes with the bazooka. This looks about the same as the one for the high grade, but all the parts that needed to be swapped out on the high grade are just functional moving parts on this one. It has a little like handle here that you can pull out that I think helps you put it. No, actually, this right here that pops out helps you put it into the back. But that extra little part for extension is just, it extends on its own. You contract it when you put it on the Gundam, and when you put it into its hand like it's gonna shoot something, then you extend it back out. Big old chunk slides out here, and then I believe you can just slide it in. Or do I do it this way? Maybe this way. Yes. You slide it in this way, and then you just pop it in closed. It's not that stable. It just holds on by a tiny thing, and it can fall out. But it's nice to have the function. Next up, we have the high grade RX-178 Gundam Mark II. This is the Titans version. If you couldn't tell, at this point I had started to watch Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, and in the first few episodes you see these. When they were making Zeta Gundam, they were thinking like, okay, well, we want to make a different design for the Gundam, but how do we do that? And they thought at first to introduce the darker ones, and they do some bad stuff in the beginning. They're like breaking some space laws and endangering like the space colonies and stuff by just being dickheads. So it's like, how about let's show a Gundam doing something bad and have it be dark and edgy. This one is the 3rd unit. This is the one that Camille pilots for a little while. It's mostly you see what you get what you see. It's just a high grade. It was on the cheap side, but I thought I did a pretty good job at it. There's a pretty good amount of detail on everything, as much as I could anyway for panel lining and top coating. I was definitely getting better at the yellow vents at this point. Definitely like up in here it's going to be blurry and this video is going to be bad. And it's pissing me off. But it's also got the bazooka in the back. And that's that. Just a quicker build, maybe a couple weeks. And then I built the real grade Mark II, which I will show you right now. Out of the mobile suits that I have built, this is the cleanest that I've done. This is the real grade Mark II. You can see that, like, if it would fucking focus, like shadowing and stuff with the panel lining. Kind of an accident, but I'm really happy with how it came out. Just very clean. This one, like, the top coat was absolutely covering everything. Most to all of my panel lining was just like really clean. I know that's gonna be blurry, but yeah, that's too blurry though. I'm still pissed. But yeah, I mean, even some things like the golden stickers here, like getting that nice groove in the middle, down pat. I'm proud of this one. I won't be moving it around much, even though it is very sturdy. There's they came with actual like little rope and wires to make the sort of cable parts down here, and the cable parts like right there. They're just actual like flexible sort of cord, and then wires in the middle of them. So I did glue those down. There was a little bit of trouble that gave me. I should mention that all the real grades up until this point have opening chest compartments. This one does too. It pops down, and then this would pop up. It's kind of getting caught a little bit, and so I don't want to mess with it too much. Not that it'll break, but I just like keeping them in the position they're in because I don't like posing them. They're not like toys. They are much more fragile, just by default, and that's not even getting into like the real grade RX-78 too. That's like mega fragile. That's like, even when I'm being careful, it raises my heart rate, dude. But yeah, it comes with, of course, the 1/144th scale Camille. Gotta say, when I finished Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, so far every Mobile Suit series that I have seen has some dead time. Unicorn was more evenly paced, but I was having trouble following the story a little bit because I kind of just like jumped around. But the original Mobile Suit Gundam, 1979, 47, 50 episodes. I think might have been like 53 episodes. A lot of filler, so much filler. That's why they made 3 compilation movies that cut out a lot of stuff. But I decided to opt for the original route. But Zeta Gundam, definitely a lot more dense in story, a lot more character development, a lot more actual contemplative struggle than the original. Not that the original was bad per se, but there were points where I forced myself to watch it when I wanted to not. Zeta Gundam, although it did take me a while, it was definitely an easier thing to pick up. But yeah, the Mark II. I didn't mean for this to be a really good kit in terms of my own effort, but it just ended up being that way, so I'm proud of it. 2 beam sabers, as usual. A decent amount of these extra clips for the rifle. for some reason. Like, I mean, I have the clip on the rifle. I have 2 spare clips on the shield. I think I might have one on the hip. And then there's still this one. They just included a lot of spare clips. An extra magazine for the bazooka. And that's that. It was at this point that I moved away from Mobile Suit Gundam, and I started looking into Armored Core. Armored Core is a video game series that is developed by From Software, which is they're the same developers of Dark Souls and King's Blade way back in the day, if you played that. But ever since the late 90s, they were making Armored Core games from PS1 all the way to PS3, and now PS4 and 5 with Armored Core 6 coming out soon. Very excited for that. Don't listen to the naysayers, just be excited for it. Armored Core takes a much more gritty approach to the mech design. I do appreciate where they took the designs in 4th gen, a lot of very like aircraft and jet inspired pieces. But I emulated Armored Core for Answer because people said that that's a good place to start, and I fell in love with it. I sucked, and I still kind of suck, but I loved it. And the design that I really liked was that of White Glint. Of course, how could you not? Have you seen the Armored Core 4 Answer opening cutscene? It's good. But it was just scratching that like boy itch in my brain. So I got 2 model kits, accidentally 3, from a different company this time. Even though Bandai Namco helps make the games, Bandai is not the company in charge of the model kits, which is confusing to me. Instead, the company is Kotobukiya. And Kotobukiya, they're very inspired by Bandai. It's the same style of snap together kits with a lot of runners and the same sort of approach. But some notable differences are like an encouraged use of glue in some parts, generally like a little more error in terms of production and the mold process, slightly less quality plastic, things like that. So these kits, especially because they were old, they're being reproduced now, which is making me angry because I spent some money on these. They're old kits, and so some of the plastic was more warped than it would have been. Not to say it would have been perfect, but like the Bandai model kits are like a gold standard for mold quality and all that, and it was a little bit of a change to see a decrease in that. It was more challenging, but I decided, because Armored Core is so much more gritty, and even like in the official art, the Armored Cores, or next if you're playing the 4th generation, the Armored Cores are like covered in dirt and have chipped paint and whatever. So I thought, okay, I can't make this kit and not weather it to some degree. So I changed my process a little bit. Now, my process is I do 2 cuts with the God Hand. I do a cut away away from the piece, and then I do another cut right on the piece after I cut it all out. And then I come at it with, I never had to buy sandpaper again because I have these, it's Diapad. It's old because they belong to my parents. But I mean, this is, I don't know how expensive they are, but they're gonna last me forever, so. They're like little pieces of diamond that are in a certain grit. This one melts plastic. Be careful with it. And then this yellow one is for a finer, more buffing kind of thing. So I've never used sandpaper ever again. Just in case there's a difficult spot to get to, I have somewhere. I have this X-Acto knife that I use to sort of make a piece flush or scrape off any little pieces of nubs left or any stress marks. But on almost every single piece, all I have to do is do 2 cuts with the God Hand, a little scrub with this, a little scrub with this, all done perfectly flat. And then, once I get something like a limb together, I will panel line it, and I have a microfiber cloth here that I scrape away, that I rub away the excess with. Tie it in smaller areas. I use Q-tips that still has some ink on it from when I used it. I panel line the piece, and then I find a place to put it on this alligator clip, and I have this base, and then I have this big old Frankenstein of limbs and stuff that I keep on here. And then I think I will not do the weathering on the mobile suits because they're shown as more clean in the shows. But for the armored cores, definitely. I then do some weathering and repainting, actually. I have these pour style Gundam markers. You can hear a ball in them, kind of like a can of spray paint, because it's just paint in here. They are paint markers, so a good thing to do is to shake the pen up, and then dab the pen into a little dish of some kind, and then use a paintbrush. I have some paintbrushes in here, but I don't need to be like, this is a paintbrush. I just have some paintbrushes. And then you paint it onto the piece to color correct. There was a good amount of painting that I had to do in certain grays and blacks and whites. For the black, and for the weathering and whatnot, I just have this acrylic black. And there was a little bit of brown that I did around the feet. So I have this little brown. This is for, it's for glass, but this is just what we had in the basement, so I'm using that. But yeah, this, pour markers, they're not the best. I would recommend just getting acrylic paints if you're gonna start painting. But I got these before I had the balls to acrylic paint. Also, for your alligator clips, sometimes the metal will dig into the plastic a little bit. So if it's on like a joint or like a little peg or something that's not going to be seen, I just use the raw alligator clip. This one does come with these rubber caps to make it a little more gentle. If you're gonna take my advice, or if you're awake. Maybe this is working as ASMR for some people. I hope it does. But first, I built SD style line arc white glint from Armored Core 4 Answer. Even though it's a little chibi big head version, I made it look very edgy and kind of menacing. But like, I actually have a before and after picture. I built this kit differently. I decided to do no panel lining and no color correction. And I built the kit all the way up and I took pictures. And then I deconstructed the whole thing again. I panel lined and I weathered. This is pretty dramatically weathered, admittedly, because it was my first time, but I think it looks good. And you can see a little bit of the brown on the feet and whatnot, but otherwise it's just black. Yeah, some of this looks really good. Look at this stuff back here. That's nice and chipped, and I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm not sure what SD stands for, but Gundam does it too. It's like this, just a more chibi style with big heads. But I love the white glint design, so I thought, hey, I gotta get this, right? Yeah, a lot of color correcting. I think it came out pretty good. Its little instruction book. The instructions are going to be a little different. A lot more assumptions have to be made. The Bandai instructions are very clear and bring you through the whole way. These are a lot of like, just put these two parts together and then we're going to get to the step kind of thing, where it's like, okay, you need to kind of suss it out a little bit more. This isn't a complex build by any means. It's actually along the lines of like a very simple high grade. Comes with 2 of these little thruster parts for these little guys right here, right there, open up, and you can, this one you need like pieces and whatnot, but the other one that I built, which you'll see soon, you just flip it open and then the thrusters are all in a line like that. In a line like this. And then all of these little doodads open up and have their own little thrusters going on. As such. And now the kit that I finished like 2 days ago. Let's go. Here is the dresser that they're all on. It's not pretty by any means. And here is the little corner of the shelf that the high grade unicorn sits on. He sits like a lo-fi EP on my N64 games. But here they all are. The only ones that I've stacked are the Mark IIs. And then there's the tiny little white glint there. I do have the Figma of Band of the Hawk and Guts and Casket together because I fucking love Berserk. I'm gonna get this out of the way because it's a bad bootleg. But here is the behemoth that is the Kotobukiya White Glint. It is a gorgeous kit. It's pretty heavily weathered still. I mean, that one's just kind of ridiculous, but I do feel that this one is pretty heavily weathered. You can see that this is the only one except for the Ava Unit 1 that I've put into a dynamic pose. I feel for good reason, because these guys are always on crack. Oops, I forgot to close that. I guess that shows that the missile hatches do open. But yeah, you see what I mean with like the jet design, how the chest really comes forward like an aircraft. And in the back here, you have these like belt sections, and this part, a lot of painting for that. It's like a tank hatch, and I think that's where the pilot climbs in. These are not nearly as big in their universe as a Gundam, like the pilot being that big in comparison. The pilot of these kind of just like sit down in here, so they're maybe like a few stories tall or something, but not like building sized things. A lot of painting, like you can see the color difference up on top of the shoulder there. That's because I had to paint it from black to white. Oops, that stabilizer is bent a little, so I will put it back. I'm very happy with how this came out, and I will post pictures of it in its different forms and all that. Here it is with all its stuff in the back. You can see these, this is what I was talking about the thing. Work with me, please. Opening up. But yeah, they're always like drifting along the ground and firing their guns and stuff, so I figured it'd be a disservice to just have them standing. All of these individually have latches and open. Please, dear God. Oh my God. But yeah, it's definitely the current like focal point, except for these two on the dresser. Much bigger booklet with even some like color pages and whatnot. It comes with a stand here that I will put together. The reason I'm not using this right now is because of this. The peg broke off, and it caused a lot of trouble for me because I was almost done taking pictures, and it just had to be a pain in the ass and break and all that. So that's why that's a thing. So comes with this like base here. It would be good to be able to use this, but I can't because it broke. It was a difficult kit for sure. A lot of color correcting, especially because of something that I will rant to you about. Yeah, so the base would have looked like that. Pretty cool. Very basic though. So let's see if I can find a picture. How white glint actually looks is white. It's white glint. There was a picture somewhere. There are these pictures, they might work, but that is a lot of clutter. Oh, I guess I will use these. So, I think when they developed this kit, they made a mistake. When you get the white glint parts to be able to make white glint in the game, you can change the colors around. But when you try to recreate the actual white glint colors, it instead changes some parts. When you change the like sub parts to black, it will change some parts that are not black on the actual white glint, and they made those parts black on this kit, which was a pain. These two things on the ankle are not supposed to be black. This thing over on the knee is not supposed to be black. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things on the calves are not supposed to be black. They actually color corrected this on their own, but these things were fully black on the thrusters on the hips there. This thing came in white, so I don't know why it's black there. These guys are not supposed to be black. These doors are not supposed to be black. These things on the shoulders, not supposed to be black. This thing was all white, so I needed to paint that. These things, not supposed to be black. You can kind of see right there on the forearm, that's not supposed to be black. A lot of painted pieces. There's more, but I'm not gonna go through absolutely everything. But yeah, it was a lot. Not that I minded though. It made for a good project and I'm really proud of it now. I think it looks great. I am really proud of it. So, because this shared a runner with the Alia Supplies kit from Armored Core 4, it had the parts to make a whole other gun that's not technically a white glint gun. The whole thing with Armored Core is you can equip anything with any weapon as long as your legs can support the weight and whatnot. All about customization. So there's this Alia gun that is just fully there. It's just an extra. So I decided to top coat it and give it some specks of dirt and whatnot, just to make it a little more grungy. Full panel line and all that. I think it looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that looks good. You won't see it because this thing is blurry as hell, but I like it and I'm proud of it. All of the assault armor little vent parts that open up, which I will post pictures of, are separate pieces that you need to clip in, and so there's a lot of those. Every single one of 14 of these little thrusters for the wings are separate pieces. I used 3 cans of top coat on this kit. 2 regular fist hands, in case you wanted closed fists. And then after that, it's just these 2 parts when in overt boost mode, the shoulders swing forward, and so this you put into the shoulder, so it's not just like dead air, and it looks like an actual part. It is like a piston pushing the shoulder out. So yeah, a lot of pieces. And I did say that I accidentally got 3 kits, and that's because I was a dumbass, and on eBay I thought I was ordering the line arc white glint, but instead I ordered the white glint from Armored Core 4, which I think I will make a separate video talking about Armored Core itself, because there are so many things I could talk about, but actually I am enjoying Armored Core 4 much more than 4 Answer. Even though 4 Answer is much more polished and all that, there are a lot of reasons why I like Armored Core 4 a lot more. And it's making me excited to try the earlier games and try Armored Core 6. The other kits I have on backlog right now, because once you really throw yourself into the hobby, you will start getting a backlog. Obviously the Armored Core 4 white glint, that's a bigger project for sure. The real grade Zeta Gundam, which anyone who knows about Gunpla knows that this is the most notorious kit for being bad and super fragile and just not well made. But I never plan to transform this into its plain mode, I guess, ever. And hopefully it will just be as fragile as the RX-78 too. Hopefully. I also have gotten the high-grade Gundam Aerial, which I have not watched. Mobile Suit Gundam Witch from Mercury, but I've heard that the kits are very good. Oops. One reason that I wanted to get my hands on it, I've heard that Witch from Mercury is really good. I've heard some songs from the soundtrack, and they sound really good. But also, look at these two pieces. Look at that. That's just no stickers, no nothing. That's just how the piece is molded and printed. That's hot. I don't care what you say, that's hot. I'm such a fucking nerd, dude. I have White Glint, I have the Zeta Gundam, I have Gundam Aerial. I do have this Haro from Gundam. It's a Haropla, just for the hell of it, I guess. I'm saving this for making a video building the whole thing, because it is like 20-something pieces in total. The instructions are so few that they are printed on the box. It's 2 runners, and that includes like a big old base and everything. So I think that I could bang this out in a day and film it as a build video, which I think there are not enough Gundam kit building videos for ASMR. It's awesome when you do see them. Ephemeral Rift made one, it was great. And I mean like actual ASMR, not just like compiling the snips. I mean like ASMR, you know what I mean? And the other kit that is on its way, because I clearly don't have enough that I need to build, is the Kotobukiya Metal Gear Rex. Because I'm starting to poke my nose into Metal Gear, and I really do like the Metal Gear Rex design. So I figured, hey, they got a cool model kit of it. I'm gonna build that jaw.
Hello, this is editing me in August. The mirror gives it away. But look at the size of this fucking thing. This thing is huge. This is a high-grade box. Dude. Like, there's a lot of runners in here. There's even more under the book. The book is like thicky. It's gonna be a good build.
But yeah, that's my Gundam Gunpla collection so far. Mobile Suit Gundam. It's very Saturday morning cartoon, and it repeats itself a lot. I have not seen the compilation movies. I would kind of recommend them though, because watching the whole series is a chore, at least in my opinion. Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. I would recommend watching the whole show, actually. I have not seen the compilation movies of that, but they did change the ending, which I do want to see the changed ending, because the way that the show ends is very like, what the hell? What? Okay. I have not started watching Double Zeta, but I think that just the existence of Double Zeta doesn't make sense with the ending of Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn, very pretty. A good like 7 hours. Like each episode is an hour long. I think it's 7 episodes. I think there's some other Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn thing, because I see like this like golden like phalanx Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn thing and like the unicorn with a blue psycho frame and stuff, and it's like, well, I've never seen that. So I don't know if there's like another series of it or like a movie of it or something that I haven't seen. But I guess I'll find out. But yeah, that's that.
My name is Clyde Snoot, and I air from the Bureau of Bullshit. Here is today's recap. I don't have anything written down for this one. You see this little dresser of knicks and knacks? Seth is a fucking nerd who likes to build little model kits and likes to not call them toys. And he spends about an hour and a half of your time, if you've made it this far, talking about little plastic robots and the TV shows that go with them. I do think, though, that these two little guys over here are more associated with a video game franchise about planetary consumption through global warming and pollutants and corporatocracy and greed and those sorts of things. But it's still for nerds, and yeah. Also, was it just me, or did he have like a fucking speck of something on his eyebrow in the last like third of the video and he never noticed it? That's like what the fuck, right?